Hi everyone, it's Joanne here from Factory Studio, and spring is on its way. So this tutorial sees us painting 3 juicy colourful tulips, and I don't know about you, but I love it when they just start to show their heads after a long winter and then just give us this beautiful glorious colour. They're just one of my favourite flowers and I love to paint them as well. So on this tutorial we're going to paint 3 tulips with the leaves as well. So we're going to concentrate on colour, capturing light and negative painting. Once I show you my approach to this, then you can move this forward if you like as well. Why not paint a whole vase full of beautiful colourful tulips? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Okay, so shall we get cracking? Go and grab your brushes and let's paint some spring. So let's paint 3 beautiful rosy red tulips. I'll go through the materials with you before we start. I've got a piece of Saunders Waterford here. It's not surface. I've cut it down to size. It was a half imperial, now it's quarter imperial. Not taped down because you know I like to move mine around, and hoping that by now you do too. Jug of clean water. Spray bottle, always handy. Palette, I'll come back to the colours in a minute. Just a size 8 brush is perfect for this, and a bit of an old cloth or rag or even tissue, kitchen roll to just kind of mop up or lift any bits away that you want to move. And colour-wise, I think you can guess, can't you? You can see them in the palette. Always 3 primaries. It's just the magic key to colour, it really is, for me anyway. So I'm going to go for the cobalt yellow. I've got the Pyrrole Scarlet, and I've got some ultramarine blue as well. So there are the 3 colours, and I've put them into my palette here. So drawing wise, yes, obviously I have provided the drawing for you. So the next thing to think about really is when your drawing's down is where is the light coming from? That's one of the most important things that you need to think about at this point. Well, throughout the whole picture, but before you even start to put a brush stroke down, you need to be really kind of confident and certain about that. And that's why I tend to put a bit of wax on mine really as well, just to give you a helping hand. But we're not going to do that with this one. We're going to paint by the seat of our pants. So I think I'm going to have my light coming from this left-hand side here. So it's going to catch these sides here. So they're the bits that I want to try and keep as light as I can. And you know what? I don't like a lot of pencil lines. Obviously I do the drawing for you, and I blame you guys because I have to draw it out then, don't I? But I like a little bit of pencil, but not too much, so I'm just cleaning that away because this is the side I want the lights to be on. And I also need to think about the lights down the stems as well, don't I? The light's going to hit on this left-hand side, and we're going to catch a few leaf shapes as we go through. So we now know left-hand side. Just to confuse you even further, we're going to turn our picture around. I am, because I want to show you how gravity is really important as well. I'm on a slight incline here on my board, and obviously my paper is as well. But I just want to share with you, you know, how important it is to kind of have that flow of paint. So let's get started. Let's wet this one. And I don't care, I've got the lines a little bit there as well. Oops. That brush wasn't perfectly clean. Now, I want to keep this side light, so I am not going to put any paint onto that tiny little section there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the water again against that shape. Remembering I want the light on this side, so I'm going to leave a nice bit of white paper there. And any of the lights we can lift away. This one's the same, plenty of water. And as I come around here, I'm leaving a little highlight there, look. Well, you can't see because it's just pure water at the moment, isn't it? Okay. Let's be really brave and take a lovely big dark wash of your red. Pyrrole red I'm using. And I'm going to just drop in that lovely red wash. Now I can continue along here as well, keeping in mind that I want that side to be lighter. And finally we'll do this one. Now that seemed mighty dark, I know it does, but I know I go on about this, but watercolour always dries a little bit lighter. So sometimes you just have to be brave. Now I've got some hard edges on there, so I'm going to just put a drop of water into that and just soften that away a little bit. I can use a thirsty brush as well. I can take my brush into the water and squeeze out that excess moisture, just squeezing that out. That means then I can roll that brush into that wash and lift a little bit of colour away. So we'll do that again. Thirsty brush, just lifting some of that colour away. You have to keep cleaning your brush because obviously my brush is full of paint now, isn't it? So thirsty brush, pushing that brush into that section. Don't worry if it goes out of the lines, that really doesn't matter at this point. So we've got a lovely light on that one on this one, and we just about managed to catch the light on that one as well. Okay. Now the colour is quite dark, and as it's come down it's got a little bit lighter, hasn't it? And what I want us to do now is be a little bit brave. I want you to tap in some water into your washes. Just on the edges if you can. You could use your spray bottle, by the way, for this, that's not a problem. But I find I've got a little bit more control if I just tap in a little wash. So the water the wash just runs into that. I can, of course, tap my paper onto my board. So that then gives the wash somewhere else to go. If I find there's too much, or if you think there's too much on yours, thirsty brush again, just lifting some of that away. You don't have to have it all, especially if you've kind of been a bit too enthusiastic. Right, I think you know what I'm going to say now, don't you? It's time to let this one completely dry. Rightio, so once you're nice and dry, that means you can turn your picture around. Let's think about the stalks of those flowers now. Let's take some of that yellow, some of the blue, mix a nice green. There we go. Now, again, we're thinking about the light, aren't we, coming from this side? So I'm going to start off with a green. Then I might just try and leave just a couple of little spaces on that left-hand side. Let's do that again. All the way down. Like so. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to be even braver. Okay. So we're going to take some of the yellow on our brush, and I'm going to take some of the blue. So I've got a mixture of the two colours there, really. And what I'm doing here is I want to make the leaf shapes a little bit more interesting. So because I've got bits of blue on my brush and bits of the yellow, they kind of combine on the paper nicely, which is always a bonus, isn't it? Now you can tap into that, you can swish your brush around a little bit. We're just looking to put some lovely shapes here, for instance. It could be another leaf. You can have as many or as little as you want. But can you see how the brush, because I've not mixed that green in a palette and I've allowed it to just mix on the paper, it just gives for a far more interesting green. And something else that I like to do as well is if I'm painting a floral and I have, I just put that in, and I have, say, red flowers at the top, then I like to balance the colour a little bit. So I'm going to clean my brush and I'm just going to pick up some of that pearl red and I'm just going to tap in couple of little bits there, look. There we go. One more, there we go. And that's plenty. Now, you can spray this, you can wait for it to dry. I'm going to give mine a little spritz. And I'm going to let that dry completely. So there we go, it's nice and dry and everything is kind of flat, isn't it, at the moment? It's just kind of one-dimensional. There's no oomph to it at all. And this is where we want to make it three-dimensional, really, isn't it? We want to bring it to life. And that's what we're going to do with the power of darker colours. So let's take our red again and let's go back to the very beginning where we talked about keeping these lights here. Let's take some stronger red. And let's do that. Let's show that shape off. So I'm not going to paint that shape. I'm going to paint against this one here, up into that bottom half. Maybe a few little darker marks there. Look, I'm going to clean my brush. I'm just going to let that blend a little bit. Just give it a bit more of a blend. Perfect. Should we do it again? Take the red. Make this side darker. Maybe a few little details here, but really we're trying to keep this side as light as we can. And that's the weight of the paper, isn't it? Don't get worried if you don't get this first time, because it does take time. And don't forget you can use masking fluid as well, couldn't you? Always put a bit of that in. I covered a bit up there that I didn't want to, so we all make mistakes. Let's do this one now. So we're keeping this right hand side nice and dark. I'll suggest a couple of petal shapes there, look. Just clean my brush and just push that up. And again, we've created another, a dark and a light. I'm going to make it a little bit darker, I think, on that side. Now, this wash underneath here, underneath the bottom half, is still wet. And we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to put a nice shadow underneath. Sorry, just soften that bit away. We're going to put a nice shadow underneath each one. So I'm going to take some of the ultramarine blue. Not too strong, but not too weak. And I'm going to allow the red, here for instance, to seep into that. And it's dried on me a little bit, so do you know what? I'm going to put in a bit more. So I'm just allowing that red to flow into that shadow colour. Pull that down and then we've got a nice shadowy dark edge. We should be better with the second one because I can see that wash is quite wet. So it's wet here, so I'm going to pull in this shadow. Pull it down. Do you know what? I still think I might do that. Just dropping in a little bit of that red into that blue. And I'm going to soften that mark away. I'm going to soften that a little bit as well. Just look now how those flowers really do like they're sitting on those stems, don't they? Let's do it again. Let's take the blue. We'll put a bit of a shadow in. We want that red to run down, so I'm going to introduce a little bit more. And I'm just going to pull that and soften it down and encourage it to run a little bit. And there we go. So I just think it looks a little bit more interesting, doesn't it, when you've got another colour running into another colour rather than just the blue shadow. Let's do a little bit of work up down here before we jump up and put some final touches in here. So remember what I said at the beginning, we're always thinking about light at the beginning of our painting and during it. And again, this is where it really is important that you remember that, because we now want to catch the light, don't we, on certain objects here, which is of course the leaves and the stems. So let's just take a little bit of that ultramarine blue. And okay, where can I show? Oh, there. Okay, so we've got this lovely stem coming down here. So let's now put a dark against that shape. And I'm going to put another one there as well. So I've not painted that stem, this stem and painting around it. And that then creates it, doesn't it? Should we do that again? Let's find another one. This is quite nice here. You've got this lovely stem and leaf shape crossing one another. So we'll have that, and we'll just see maybe a peak of it appearing there like that. I can throw lots of water on and soften these marks away. So I don't need to put in every detail because you and I know that they are both leaf shapes. I'm going to put a tad here. I'm always looking to exploit a light, so because I managed to leave a little chink of light on that stem, it's been really helpful in capturing the shape of the stem coming up, and the leaf going behind it. I'm going to give mine a little spritz. And I'm going to add a couple more details here with that ultramarine blue. Let's find another one. Okay, I like this one here that's coming down here. So that's the stem. We'll put a dark against that leaf shape. Throw lots of water on that. And I push that dark up so that then now becomes a leaf shape. It's vague. Just going to splatter some shapes into that as well. Yeah, that might be quite nice actually, just a few little splatters of the blue. I mean, I'm coming to the point now where I need to kind of stop. And I just want to carry on as well because I know I should stop, but sometimes I like painting by the seat of my pants. So you let yours dry if you like. I'm just going to put in a couple of more shapes here. And it's all about being confident really and knowing how wet your paper is, how far you can push it. Now, I am going to stop. We haven't too much to do at the moment now, just the final touches at the top half here, but I really want to make sure that it's totally dry before we carry on, so let's let this dry. So now we're ready for our final darks, and I do say often clean your water, and I'm just about the point where I should clean mine, but it is a big jug of water. It does hold a lot, so I think I'm just going to get away with that. It's worth keeping your eye on, isn't it? So we put those really dark little bits at the top of the tulips in. And this is always the scary bit, isn't it? Putting in the darks. But try and be confident. Let's take some of that blue, some of the red, and I'm mixing a very strong dark red now. Let's have a look at that on the sheet. Can you see that? I'll put it a bit further up. So it's quite a strong dark red. And that's the colour we're going to use just to pop in some little chinks of dark, so you kind of, it's as though you're imagining that little crevice there is full of possibilities, isn't it? Soften little bits away as well. Maybe bring that in like that. I can always soften a few bits away like I did before. I think that's probably enough. Let's do another one. I'm taking that very strong red, and we'll do the top one. We don't see much. A bit more red in that. We don't see much in the way of a dark, just a hint of it really, isn't it? I'm going to soften that away. And do you know what as well you can do? You can kind of come out like this as well, look. Just allow some of that to flow out. We did that at the start, didn't we? You can carry on doing that. A bit more blue into that red. Let's really go for this one. Put it in quite dark. I'm just looking for all those little crevices that I can put the dark into. Soften some marks away. Maybe bring some of that red down into this shape. And I'm very much aware that, you know, it's so easy, isn't it, to overwork something like this. Before I put any more darks into that, let's just calm down and put a few more little hints of shadows. So I'm taking the blue and the red, but this time I'm making it more blue. So it's more of a shadow colour. And I'm just going to pick out a couple of shapes that I'd like to show off. So I'd like to show off this lovely stem here. So I'm really going to come in with quite a dark value here. And maybe even here as well. Just to bring that stem back out, softening that wash away with lots of water. There's always going to be casualties. It's going to bleed into other areas. Try not to worry too much about that. That's the blue, a little bit of the red. Oh, should we find another one? I kind of like the way that leaf curls over, so I'm going to put in a bit more dark into that leaf shape. So it really does look as though it's bending. And one more. Rule of threes is always good. One more. Ooh. Okay, that's quite a nice one, isn't it? We'll find that stem again. There it is. Cleaning the brush, pulling that wash away. So we're just giving a simple indication of where that is. I think I'm overworking my leaves now, so it's so difficult, isn't it? Just a smidge more along that line there, look. Adding a bit more yellow as well. But yeah, I think, you know, it is an experimental area and they're all going to be different, but the basics are the same, aren't they? I'm looking to catch the light. I've caught a shape here, I've caught a shape here, and I've managed to just describe the stems. I'm going to come in with a little bit more dark now into these top bits. That's the blue and the red. And just put a final little dark into that centre. Cleaning my brush, softening away. Turning my picture upside down if I want to. And just softening those darks away and being mindful as well. Like here, for instance, where I want to just catch the light, maybe even put a little bit of the red against it. And I think I should stop now, but you can play all day, can't you, with a subject like this? Okay, yeah, definitely time to stop. I've loved painting that. It's been a lot of fun. I'm going to give mine a cheeky spritz before I say I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.